Hello, and thank you. Thank you for joining me for this fairly spontaneous workshop that I decided to do this morning. I got up this morning at 5 o'clock with every intention of not checking the news today until I had done some yoga and spent some time just being calm and happy. But I'd actually been dreaming about the election results and I couldn't get to my mat until I knew. So I was very happy that I was able to actually make it to my mat after reading the news as it was at 5 o'clock this morning. Can you hear me okay? Just to check. Yeah, you can hear me okay, great. Yeah, we're in a really strange situation in the world at the moment. Looking on Facebook and Twitter, I've not seen one person yet that seems happy with the election result in America. I'm sure there must be people that are happy with the election result in America, or we wouldn't be having the result that we've got. So I'm just clearly not following or connected with any of those people, which I think I'm rather glad about. All of my friends are as shell-shocked as me, so I think that says a lot about the people I've managed to find as friends in my life. So I wanted to do this workshop because what I saw on Facebook and on Twitter is this huge whirlwind of fear and anxiety and unhappiness, and very, very palpable. I can almost feel it as a solid mass coming through my laptop. And I'm trying not to get caught up in that, because I've done that before and it never ends well for me when I allow myself to get caught up in fear and unhappiness. I've been there before, the day after the referendum in the UK back in June. I spent most of the day that day and for several weeks afterwards in a state of real turmoil. But I noticed that things had changed a lot about how I was reacting than how I would have reacted a few years ago, before I learned the techniques that I'm going to be teaching you today. So the reason I chose to do this workshop is because I very much feel that we need to work on how to reduce the level of anxiety and fear that's in our world now. Anxiety and fear were the root causes of this election result, and also the Brexit result. All these horrible changes that are happening in our world are happening because we, the people, are scared and anxious because we're facing so many uncertainties in our world, and there are people who are capitalizing on that and who are using that fear to cause division, to cause discord and mistrust, and we've got to work to stop that. We know that's not going to get us where we need to get as a global society, a global family. We are, we need to be connecting. We need to be working together to fight this, not falling for all the division. We need to come together. We need to strengthen our resilience as individuals, as local communities, as a global community. We need to strengthen our resilience. We've got unknown, who knows what coming at us now. We don't know what the Trump presidency is going to bring. We don't know what Brexit is going to cause at this side of the world. We don't know what's happening. So the only thing that we can do is take steps to increase our personal and social resilience, so that when the shit hits the fan, for want of a better phrase, we can actually withstand the maelstrom that's going to come at us, and we can work together to find solutions instead of fighting each other for survival. We've got to find solutions rather than just resort to dog eat dog survival, which I fear is where things might end up. We don't want that. So one of the things that I realized that yoga gave me was resilience. It was resilience that I developed that helped me to give up drinking. It was resilience that has helped me to not be a complete mess today. I have developed this resilience through the yoga practices that I make part of my life, and I want to share some of those with you today. Now, yoga is It's a fantastic way of life. And if you can incorporate any of these practices into your daily life, you will see tremendous benefits. Even if it's just one of the practices that I'm going to teach you today, one of these practices alone will change your life. If you can incorporate all of them, then, you know, the world is your oyster. Yoga actually is about unity. So it's a very, it seems a very natural practice to be talking about in terms of trying to unite people, you know, across the world, globally, to connect people together. Yoga means unity of mind, body, and soul. And it's also part of it's also about the fact that we are connected. So, for example, Lely, you and I, we are half a world away from each other. We're connected on this call now. We're connected through our community that we are part of, where we've connected. We're connected in our humanity. We are connected to each other on so many levels. And it's really important that we remember this at all times. We are always connected. Even the people we don't like, even the people that we think are responsible for the problems that we're facing, we're all connected to those people. And we can't pretend that something that happens to somebody else doesn't affect us, because it all does. On some level, it affects us all. So trying to think about unity and connection, and one of the most powerful ways that we can connect our mind and our body and our souls together is through the breath. And you know, we're all very much connected by our breath. You know, what we're breathing the same air. You know, we might be on other sides of the world, but we're breathing the same air. We are very connected through the breath. So I want to start with the first practice I'm going to show you is a quiet sitting practice. So it's a sort of a meditative practice. And I'm going to also teach you a particular breathing practice that is very good for balancing the nervous system. It's good for balancing the emotions. So it's a really good practice to do when you're feeling very anxious, when you're feeling very stressed and unhappy. It's a very, very powerful practice. It's called Savitri Pranayama. And we're going to do 9 rounds of it. I'm going to talk you all the way through it, so you don't need to worry about remembering, but I'll explain it to you first. So Savitri Pranayama, in that we take in 1 deep breath for a count of 6. So we're going to breathe in, and then we hold for 3, 2, 3, then breathe out for 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and hold for 3. When you hold the breath, if you struggle to hold the breath, if you swallow on that last second of the in-breath, it makes it a lot easier to hold the breath. It sort of sends a message up to your brain to say you're holding the breath. And then the same on the out-breath. So you hold that out-breath. So when we do this quiet sitting now, which is a really nice way to ground yourself, to just bring yourself into the moment, we'll breathe just slowly, quietly, focusing on the breath for a few seconds, and then I'll start talking you through Savitri Pranayama. So if you bring your hands together, so your right hand is dominant over your left, and drop your hands into your lap. Close your eyes if you want to, or if you don't want to close your eyes, just look down so you're not looking straight at the screen. Put your feet flat on the floor if you can, so you're really grounded with the ground below you. And we're just going to start breathing slowly, just focusing your attention onto your breath. Just being aware of the breath. Feeling the breath coming in through your nostrils and filling your lungs. And then leaving the body, coming back out through the nostrils. Feel what's happening in your body and your mind as you focus your attention on the breath. When your mind wanders, just bring it back to the breath. And don't worry, it doesn't mean you're not doing it right. Everyone's mind wanders. Just come back to the breath. So in a few seconds, I'm going to start counting. So over 1 more exhale, I'll breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, hold, 2, 3, out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. Out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3. In. Hold. Out. Hold. 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 And then just breathe slowly and deeply, just focusing your mind on your breath with a few moments of quiet. Now I'm just going to chant 3 Oms just to finish our quiet sitting. And then open your eyes when you're ready. And just think about how that felt for you. I know I feel a lot more calm and relaxed than I was. I wasn't particularly, well, I was probably very stressed, but I wasn't feeling overly stressed. But I feel a lot calmer now, certainly. So that is a good way when you're feeling anxious and overwrought with life. That is always a really good way to just bring yourself back into the moment. Just take a few moments. You only need to do it for a few breaths to get some benefit from it. So just come into the moment, come into the breath, because when we're just focusing on the moment and on the breath, that is all that matters, and that can be an incredibly powerful way to calm ourselves down. When we take those slow, deep breaths, it balances out the nervous system, and it allows the body to just calm down and go into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digest nervous system. So it just keeps us in that calmer, more relaxed, more peaceful state. So whenever you're faced with a problem, whenever you're faced with that moment of stress, a few deep breaths can give you that little bit of space between reaction and response, and it can just help you to make a slightly, or even a significantly different, more positive response. So the next thing I wanted to talk about was gratitude. Now, any personal development coach you can ever come across will tell you about the power of gratitude. And it is an incredibly powerful practice when you can focus on things that are good in your life, no matter what those things are, no matter how small those good things are. You will find more good things. We have thousands and thousands and thousands of pieces of information hitting our brains every day. I think estimates put it at about 70,000 pieces of information that hit our brains. Like, I am bombarded with lots just sitting in my living room, all the visual information that's around me. So we have filters in our brains that decide which bits of information we're going to notice. So if you're always looking at the negative things in life, then your brain sort of says, right, okay, we like looking at the negatives, so that's what we look for. Whereas if you make a point of looking for the positives in life, you tend to notice more. It's not that more things that are good necessarily come into your life, but you look for them more. And when you're looking for things, you tend to find them. Unless it's your keys when you've lost them, and then that can be a bit more challenging, I find. But, what we focus on is what we get. So if we've constantly focused on fear and negativity and reasons to be unhappy, we're going to get a lot more of those. I know when I was possibly at the height of my depression in the last couple of years before I discovered this yoga, I remember one day when I was looking at article after article after article after article about what terrible things our government were doing. And I could feel this tension going up my arm. And I had the thought of, shit, I'm having a heart attack here. I really thought I was on the verge of a heart attack because I was getting myself so worked up. And I thought that there was nothing good at all going on in the world, because all I was looking for, I wasn't interested in the newspaper articles that had good things. I was only looking for the stuff that was making me angry. And now I'm a bit more selective about what I read. I try not to look at things that make me quite so angry, because I feel completely helpless. I get completely overwhelmed, and I don't end up doing anything. Whereas focusing on little things and the good things, I can actually find something that I can do to help in a situation rather than just feel panicky and overwhelmed. So, and that has come out of my gratitude practice to a very large extent. By focusing on things that I'm grateful for, I can now see solutions to problems that arise. And when problems do arise, very often, I don't think, this is a disaster. I think, what can I learn from this? Everything that comes at us is an opportunity for growth in some way. I know in my own experience of life, I've had lots of very, very difficult situations that have happened to me. And looking back at them now, I can see that I've grown as a person with every one of those disasters. So even the worst of things that come into our lives, there's something that can come out of it that can help us to grow. There's that saying, isn't there? What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And it is very true. It does help us to grow. Even if what we learn is, I am never going there again, I am never going to have that experience again, we learn. So trying to bring a daily gratitude practice into your life, or in moments when you're feeling like everything is awful in the world or in my life, if you try and, instead of focusing on all the things that are really bad, try and instead look for the things that are good. Look for the things that you like about your life. If your other half is driving you mad, if your kids are driving you mad, if global politics is driving you mad, look at the things that are good about your life right now and work from those rather than working from this place of fear and anger and resentment that is going to get you nowhere. So yeah, gratitude is a very powerful practice. And connected to that is a practice that's called Prati, paksha, bhavana, which I think is a wonderful concept. It's replace the negative with the positive. So in any situation, you know, if you're thinking negative thoughts, if something seems very negative, think about how you can turn that around. And it might be on a very small level, you know, when it comes to global politics getting you down. On a large level, there's not much we can do about, you know, we can't do anything about who's president of the United States. But what can we do at our level? What can you do right now, today, that's going to flip that negativity into positivity? So, for example, you know, you might decide that actually you need to do something to help the people that are going to be affected by things that are going to happen in this world. So it might be that you go and do some volunteering. You might go and, you know, help people who need your help and who are going to need your help further down the line. So flipping the negative, and that applies to what we're telling ourselves as well. You know, if you constantly running this tape in your head that tells you lots of negative thoughts about yourself, which a lot of us do, I think most of us do at some point, at least, have these negative thoughts about ourselves. When you start to notice those, because once you start to notice things, you start to change them. And once you start thinking about these things, you start to notice them. So if you start to notice that you're telling yourself, you know, I'm terrible for misplacing my keys. Before, my standard response to that was, oh God, I'm useless, I'm terrible, I'm rubbish. My mantra most mornings was, I hate being me. And what a negative thing that is to tell myself on a daily basis. I hate being me. And no wonder I was depressed. So, you know, once I started to notice that, instead, I came up with a strategy to try and do something about that. So I have a hook up on my dresser now where I put my keys. And if I can't find my keys, I don't get angry with myself. I don't start calling myself horrible names. I just try and find my keys. And I don't do it with a load of negativity and judgment and anger at myself. And it makes such a difference, because I now don't tell myself I don't hate being me anymore. And that's all down to this practice of replacing the negative with the positive. That I've seen that in action in my own life, and I know how incredibly powerful that practice is. So yes, that is a wonderful, wonderful practice. And I've just spotted your messages. Oh, thank you, Lely. What lovely messages. Thank you. So the next breathing practice I wanted to show you is just, it's a way of learning and training your lungs to be able to take in more oxygen. And I don't actually know if this is going to work, if you're going to be able to see my screen. I'll just move my screen to demonstrate. So in order to get our bodies working well, mentally and physically, we need to take in as much oxygen as we possibly can, because our bodies, every single cell in our body, including our brain, which is where our mind lives, needs oxygen in order to function well. If we're not getting enough oxygen, we're not giving our cells what they need, and things don't work as well as they should. And that includes our brains and our minds. So learning to breathe properly is a huge, it has so many benefits that will cascade through your entire life if you learn to breathe properly. And one of the simplest techniques because we tend to breathe really badly. Most adults breathe really badly. It's just what we do. We breathe brilliantly when we're children, and as we grow up, we learn to not breathe as well as when we were children. But we've got lungs that actually, we tend to, most of us probably breathe into about that much of our lungs, if you can see my bottom hand there. But our lungs actually extend from about there down to there. So there's a huge amount of space that we're not utilizing in our lungs. So one of the things that a regular yoga practice does, it will increase your lung capacity. And there is a way that you can practice increasing the lung capacity so that you can take in more air in your daily life. And this is going to feel a little bit weird doing this, because I'm going to have the camera pointing at my boobs. But if you see where I've got my hand now, just at the bottom of my ribs, And that is where the lowest part of my lungs is. That's the abdominal area of my lungs. Now, women in particular don't breathe very well into this area of our lungs. But when we breathe deep down into our lungs, this really helps to calm our minds. And I'm pointing to my head, you can't see my head, how silly. So if we learn to breathe into this part of the lungs, then it really helps to expand our lung capacity. And when we breathe in, our abdomen should expand. Modern language will tell us that when we breathe in, we pull our bellies in. I don't know if it's the same in Australia, but it certainly is here. Breathing in means sucking your stomach in, which is absolute nonsense. Because when you breathe in, you're taking in air. And there is not a single thing in this world that gets smaller when you fill it with air. Everything gets bigger when you fill it with air. So when we're breathing into the lowest part of our lungs, which is at this abdominal area gets bigger. So if you practice doing that, it feels very uncomfortable as a woman, particularly, to expand your belly. And it took me a lot of inner work to be able to do what I'm doing now, because I've always tried to hide my belly from the world. But if I breathe in and out, in, out, in, and out. So that's breathing into the lowest part of the lung. Now, if you practice doing that on a regular basis, you may find that if you practice this breathing regularly, you may find that the problems that you have, for example, digestive problems, circulation problems in the lower body, gynecological problems, and anxiety issues may start to decrease with time, because breathing into this lower part of the lungs is connected to the lower part of the body. I'm going to stop pointing the camera at my boobs. When I first started learning this practice, I was seeing a gynecologist for an ongoing issue that I was having. And within a month of learning that practice, that problem went away and it hasn't come back. So I don't know if it was coincidence, but I've always just assumed that it was because of that breathing practice that I was doing. So we can do the same practice, breathing into the mid-chest. Now this breathing here, this helps to strengthen the heart and the lungs. So it's really good, obviously, for prolonging life and improving health in general. We need a good, strong heart. So we do the same. And again, we should see the fingers coming apart as we breathe in and coming back together as we breathe out. So we breathe in, out, in, out, in, and out. And that's mid-chest breathing. And then we breathe into the upper chest. So this is very good for asthma, because it helps to empty. We tend to store the air up here when we've got asthma. And it's also very good for clearing any head-related issues. So if you've got headaches and also mental health issues as well, it's very good for easing those. So we put the fingers just there. So just on there's a soft bit by your bone there. Yeah, move your necklace out of the way. And then we're going to take 3 deep breaths here. So breathing in, out, in, out, in, and out. So there you go. I'll give your arms a little bit of a shake because you might find your shoulders a little bit stiff after that. So that's Vibhaga Pranayama. So that's a good way of just, if you do that a couple of times, three breaths in each section every day, you will find that your lung capacity will improve. And when your lung capacity improves, you breathe better. And when you breathe better, you find that you're calmer. I mean, I know that I am at a much calmer general. So even when I'm not happy or sad, I'm calmer. I'm at more of an equilibrium. So it is very powerful stuff. Learning to breathe is incredibly powerful stuff. Now, moving on from the breath, but connected as well, what I said earlier on about when we take deep breaths, it allows us to choose our response to things that come our way. So, we can choose. To some extent, we can choose. We always have that choice. It's whether we allow ourselves to make that choice, that we can choose how we're going to respond to any given situation. And taking these deep breaths allows you to take that step back and figure out what's the next positive step you can take in any given situation, whether it is, what can you do to change the world in the light of today's events, or what can you do to make your day better in a smaller scenario. Joan Baez is quoted as saying, action is the antidote to despair. And I think that is so true. It's so easy to get caught up in despair and negativity. And when we do, that kind of paralyzes us. But the minute you start to take action and do something constructive, if it's go and help at your local refugee centre for a 1 day a week, or go and look after the neighbour next door who's elderly and doesn't have anybody come to visit her, and little things that you can do to make somebody's world better, ease despair, ease that feeling that everything's hopeless. We all take one positive step to do something for somebody, then the world becomes a nicer place immediately. It's taking that action. What can I do right now? What can we do? This workshop was my response to that thought. What can I do? I could sit in my house writing blog posts that maybe nobody will read, or I can try and do something a bit more proactive and a bit more practical. So this was my action as an antidote to despair today. So I'm hoping that it's helping. It's certainly helping me. I'm feeling better. One of the things that I know really makes a difference is, and it's coming back to that, what we focus on is what we attract, what we see, is what are you surrounding yourself? What is your social media feeds full of? What books are you reading? What newspapers are you reading? What are you listening to? What messages are you getting? What messages are you putting into your brain on a daily basis? Are you following, are you just seeing negative after negative after negative after negative? Or are you looking at positive stuff? Something like Positive News. I keep forgetting about Positive News, and then every now and then I remember about it. And it is a wonderful website and a print newspaper as well, that focuses entirely on sharing the good things that are happening in the world. Because if you read the mainstream media, you'll think that there's never any good that happens in the world, ever. But there are people out there day in, day out doing amazing things, doing wonderful, positive things. And it's so easy to forget that, because the mainstream media would rather have us in that position of fear and anxiety. So things like the Donald Trump as US president will happen. That the more we can focus on positivity, the reticulator activator system, it's something like that, reticular activating system. Yeah, that is what controls our filters of what we process in our brain. So if we can bombard that with positivity, then we can pull ourselves out of this negative despair that we might find ourselves in. Read inspirational books like Tuesdays with Maury is a wonderful book. If you haven't read that, I highly recommend it. It will make you sob your guts out, but with such a smile on your face as well. It's a beautiful, beautiful book. Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning is one of the most powerful books you could ever hope to read. And, you know, his lessons that he learned when he was in a concentration camp for years, you think if this man can come out of that and with all this wisdom and insights into the human spirit and what incredible creatures we are, if he can come through that and be positive, then I think that we can, you know, we can come through pretty much anything really, because we are incredible. We are incredible creatures. We absolutely are. But we need to not let ourselves get caught up with the negativity and the fear, because that stops us tapping into our amazingness. It stops us being able to access those incredible actions, those incredible thoughts, those incredible wisdom that lives inside us all. So I'm going to do something else practical now. And I think that I will have to move my laptop to do this. So this is a practice called throwing out. Just a sec. Is that too dark? Oh, that's way too dark. Right. Okay. I can do it this way. That's more better. That's better, yeah. Right. So this is a practice called throwing out. And it's a brilliant, it's one of my favorite things to do, one of my favorite things to teach. It's a way of releasing tension and negativity. It gets negative tension out of the body and out of the mind. And we're going to just shake it out. We're just going to shake, shake, shake and throw out our tension and negativity. So we start with the right hand and we're just going to give it a shake. Now, the more you put into this, the more you get out. So really give it a hard shake. Really, really shake your right hand. And then the left. And again, really, really shaking. And then the right again. And the left. And then both hands coming up and down the body. We're shaking all around the body. Shaking around wherever you feel like you want to shake. And we're going to clear away any negativity that's in us. Ah, that's good, that beautiful skirt. So now we're going to gather all that negativity up with a deep breath and release. And we're going to do 2 more times. So give another big shake. And breathe in and release. And one more time. Clearing ourselves of all that negativity and stress. Breathe in and release. And then just closing your eyes, let your arms swing at the side of your body. And then hold your arms still with the palms facing forward. Just allow your breath to slow down. And open the eyes. Right. I'm going to get back to my seat. So, that is one of my favorite practices. It's brilliant for any time you feel any kind of stress. If you're going into a situation that makes you feel uncomfortable, or, you know, if you're going for a job interview or a meeting that would make you feel tense, or if you're in a situation that's just pushing you over the edge, just take yourself off to the bathroom or to your bedroom or somewhere you can have a little bit of space and quiet and do that. And it will calm you down so effectively. And it also energizes you as well. I did this last week very spontaneously in a conference that I was attending. I managed to talk the organizer into letting me do this on the stage for everyone. And I did it after lunch, and I was a little bit uneasy about doing it after lunch. I thought maybe everyone would be too tired and wouldn't want to do it. But it actually was perfect because it relaxed everyone, but it also energized them. So nobody had that post-lunch slump that you often get, particularly at conferences where they put on a lot of food and people tend to eat too much. So it's really good. Yoga is very good in that it balances you. So whatever you need, your yoga practice will give you. So that is, if you need to be brought down, that will bring you down, and if you need to be lifted up, it will lift you up. It's incredible how yoga works. It's like magic sometimes. It really is. It's quite incredible. So I think I've covered everything that's on my notes. So, and it's been 3/4 an hour, which is roughly about how long I thought I would go for. So do you have any questions? Would you like to say something? Shall I unmute you? Yep. Okay, you're unmuted.
Oh, okay. There are not so much questions, Esther. It's just, this was perfect. I actually loved the breathing. I loved all the breathing. I loved the shaking. And it was just perfect seeing your post tonight, because here it's 8:45 now. Because everyone has been so upset that I know too. And it was just perfect because I haven't got into fear, actually. I know that some of my friends have, especially ones who live in America. But everything you said too has been so perfect, because it is like, notice what you're noticing, and when you start to really notice what you're noticing, then you can shift it so that things are not happening to us. We are causing what happens, like we're choosing. We have power in this too, so that I know that I can now notice in the morning, which tends to be when I'm a bit depressed, and I now look at the gum leaves outside, even if it's not a nice day, and I just think how gorgeous they are. And that's almost my key, to notice something wonderful, which is just exactly what you've been talking about. Mm-hmm. And it is a brain training, so that you start to shift, because we're so conditioned by the media especially to see this terrible news and to think we've got to keep watching it.
Yeah. I know it's tough, isn't it? Because there is that thing of, you've got to be informed, you've got to be up to date, but then do you want to be informed by all that stuff? I don't anymore. I did spend a long time not paying any attention to the news at all. And then I kind of opened my eyes and we had a Conservative government again. So it was a bit like, right, I'm paying attention this time. Almost as if, if I paid attention, then they couldn't sneak up on me again. But it hasn't, it hasn't changed anything. It just means that I've spent the last 8 years being stressed about what's going on in the world, whereas I wasn't before. And we are limited in what we can actually do, and we can take actions, but we can't change global politics on that bigger scale. So what are we gaining by knowing about it? I don't know what the answer is. I think the answer is discerning informant, I suppose. Discern and inform. You know what I'm trying to say. Be discerning about what you're informed about, I think.
And what we can each do, because what you've done tonight is wonderful. And I'm hoping that when you put it on your website, I can share it, and also tag a few people, because it was perfect. I mean, you have done something that is splendiferous, like it is. This is, and I have watched you, so I'm very proud of myself that I actually saw your notice and thought, I'm going to watch this. And it's been so nice to see you too. But it is powerful for you to do it. It's powerful for me to watch it. And if every person did something like this, things would shift, and whoever's the president wouldn't matter, you know, like, and there is a community of which Donald Trump is a part. You know, he is too. Sad to say, but it's true. You know, we are minds, and yeah, here I am in Perth, and there you are in Wales.
I know, it's amazing, and we met in India.
I know. Delighted by everything that you've done and said, and the fact that you've done it now, which is very powerful.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed doing this and being connected with you. Tonight, it's weird to talk about it being tonight. It's lunchtime here.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it's great, and I'm really glad that it's helped you and that you've enjoyed it. And please, yes, do, when I'll put it onto Facebook, and I'll put it onto my website, and share. Yes, because obviously the more people that can know about these kind of practices, then the happier people maybe can be. You know, maybe I can help a few more people. Yes. So yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, well, before I go then, before we say goodbye, I would just like to end with the universal prayer, which is called the Shanti mantra, which is, Shanti means peace. So it's a prayer for peace, which I think is probably quite pertinent today. So if you will just stay on while I just chant this, and then we can say our goodbyes.
Yes.
So, okay. Thank you. Om Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu Save janaha sukhino bhavantu Om Shanti 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 Om. Thank you, Lely. Lovely to connect with you to do this today. Thank you for participating, and I'm really glad that you enjoyed it.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
Okay, I will share this onto you on Facebook as soon as it's up online then. I'm going to go and have my lunch now.
Okay.
Enjoy the rest of your evening. Lots of love to you, and I will speak to you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye.